What's cracking? What's cracking? What's cracking? I am Nick Danger, and you're now tuned into the Art of MV. Welcome to the channel, and thanks for watching the video. Do me a favor, hit that like, and if you have not subscribed already, please subscribe and tap that notification so you can know when I'll be on, like when I go on live tonight. I will be live, MV Nation Saturday Night Live will debut tonight, where I'll continue to audition beats to release via Verselab today, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But I got a really interesting thing that I thought I wanted to talk about. And as I was going, and you guys were leaving it all in the comment section, when I was talking about it, I was actually, I came across a comment. Struck me as just kind of weird, right? So this is on my video, one of the recent videos I released about Tech9, a legendary rapper using an MV. So Anti-Semitic 8446 told me, duh, all the legendary guys use MVs, which we know that that's not true. Or they may be keeping it as a secret weapon, maybe. But we don't know a whole lot because we're always asking what guys used it. We know the RZA, we know EA Ski, you know what I'm saying? We know Jermaine Dupri played with it for a while from the videos at Nan with Mike Acosta. Oh, then there's DJ Trans, Mike Acosta, of course, ambassador extraordinaire. And then I found out that Tech9 used it, and a couple other people, but we know this is not like the most popular gear. You know, you can see that the studio, the platforms goes MPC, SP404 as far as hardware, and then it's all about the DAWs, and then maybe the MV Nation, so which gives me purpose, to be honest, because that's what I keep telling you guys. I really want to bring back the MV Nation kind of community for this unit and this unit, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But he also goes to say that Roland disrespected the entire community when they released the MV-1. Then he has a big poop emoji, and then told me I was caking for him. The first thing I always do, I had 45 days to try this gear or send it back. The first thing I did was start making beats with it. About a week later, I think I was working, and then a week later, I finally popped the box open and went in. And this is like one of the first tracks I put in here by using T-Rex style sequencer down here. Shout out to Shade Michaels. And this thing hits nice, man. And when I started playing with it, I automatically understood why, sonically, why it sounded. Now, if you realize, nobody has come out to say this doesn't sound good. And I think sound really matters, right? It does. If something doesn't sound good or do something that you like, then you don't keep it. You just give it back. All right. So when I got this and I was able to crack these kind of beats out of it, you know what I mean? Listen to that Juno chorus in the background that's kind of snuck in there, right? A little multi effects. No 808, right? Take the 808 out. Put it back in, and you rolling. You know what I mean? This thing sounds awesome. So anybody who doesn't realize that, and they give it back over the workflow, right? People give it back over the workflow. Now let's get into that. The V in VS is for V Studio. How do I know that? Well, you guys peeped out the trailer here, right? And I'll run it back with no sound. The MV-8000s and 8800s are in the exact same case as the VS2400 and VS2000 CD. All four MV-8800, 8000, 2400, and 2000 have CD burners on them. They all have the exact same screen, just placed differently. The MVs have them in the center, the VS Studios have them off to the right, and instead of motorized faders, you have the 16 pad 4x4 matrix layout a la MPC for beat making. That tells you they smashed in everything inside the MV. So inside the VS, they put the MV elements. So basically they took a DAW and they put actual plugged in stuff like boards, sound converters. This actually, the 8000 has the SP808 phrase sampler right next to the S760 multi-sampler alongside genuine Boss pedals that you find inside guitar rigs, okay? That's what's inside your MV, okay? So, but it's put inside the case of the V Studios. And I would probably say, based on this 8 sliders that we get, it's probably the VS 880 or 840, you know what I mean? And the only thing that the MVs are not capable of that the VSs can do is getting like third-party plugins, like from Antares, the vocal, the auto-tune. The VS series recorders also had access to Universal Audio, genuine Universal Audio composite parts like the 1176 and the LA2A. All those things you can get those for the VS series recorders via the actual physical cards you put in, and then you download it, whatever. And that's what your 8000 is built on. Now, the V Studio, right? This thing is built off a different V series that you saw in there, the V Studio 700. So here's the difference. Here's the difference in what that means. The V Studio 700s were the V Studio technology that were audio interfaces. Much like the Universal Audio, they had their own onboard DSP. So you had the Roland preamps, which are pretty good. They have a certain character, but they're really transparent. They're really generic. You hear it, but you don't notice it, if you know what I mean. You notice it when you go without it. Because I can tell you, like, let me give you an example. I actually got a V Studio sitting right here. When this is basically this unit right here. Let me get a close up over here. This unit is basically a precursor to the Tascam model series. Now, little known fact people don't know, that initially when Roland sold Sonar, they sold it to Tascam. Tascam sold it to Gibson. If you look at the first Tascam little interfaces, they look just like this. The exact same sides and everything, right? So this little thing right here was a 8-track digital mixer and hard disk recorder, a la the 32 gigabyte SD slot right here. It's 8 tracks. Now, if you want to pay attention here, this whole section here, the 1, 2, 3, with the encoder right here, and the button, functionality button directly beneath right here, mirrors this screen. 3 encoders, three rotary encoders, then the button right here, and the functionality buttons directly beneath, as well as the 8-track count directly beneath. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Directly under the encoders and the screen, right down here. And then the input channel, which is where the loopers come in. Same thing on here is the main mix. And right under the main mix, directly under it, what is it? SD card. Now, this is where the Verselab gets the audio from. When I mean audio, I mean the way it sounds, the sonics. The sonicality is based on this. And you got to figure that if this is going to go as an interface for your flagship DAW, and its big brother, basically it's a 1-channel strip one channel strip version of its big brother, the V700. So when I first actually switched over the small Onyx 8 mixer. Now the Onyx 8 mixer allows me to do a couple of things that I couldn't do with the V100, like the inserts where the analog tube pro channels are coming in, but it had the SD card reader. Actually, the V100 had me spoiled as far as I was concerned, because I had access to the card reader. I mean, I could always just put a rough mix or a loop or sample, actually sampled with that thing. Like, I'll be watching a movie on the computer or something, since it's coming through the interface on tracks 9 and 10, boom, let me record it, and then sample it on there, and then pull it from that card and move it straight to the MV. It was so simple, and this works just a lot. So that means the inputs on here are that. Okay, so you have the onboard mic input, and you have the XLR input, as well as the USB over audio, which means to tell you that the MV-1 Verselab is an audio interface. It's not just a feature. That's what it is. What they did was they did the same thing they did with the 8000. They put the VS100 and then just slapped their sound engine right next to it. The things that separates these two is that this is a multi-sampler and a synthesizer. This is a sound module and looper. That's the main thing. It's a sound module and looper and vocal take lane. Now this feature is, you can do this on here because it has an 8-track audio recorder, but this is specifically designed for that. It's designed for modern production. Okay, you can find this thing in other countries being used to make quick K-pop songs, or it is so snappy. It is quick to come up with a track in here. You know what I mean? First track I did in here was this. You never hear it because, of course, it's not really meant for you to hear. But if you can open something out the box and get a groove going, the way out of your head it sounds in your head, then something is worth keeping, right? Okay, so let's have a talk about the real reason that this is definitely not only an MV because of the fact I just told you, it's just another VS. This is the VS standalone recorders, along with sound engine, synthesizer, sampler, everything you need to make music. This is the VS Studio interface class with sound engine, sampler, looper, everything you need to make a beat. It's the exact same thing. So now let's dead the argument that the Verselab is not part of the family. Okay, so there's also some upgrades that are apparent. So one of the most charming things about the MV-8000 back in the day was the M effects. The M effects were top grade, but you could only use one instance of it. On the SP606 and the MC909 both had two instances of the M effects you could use simultaneously. This only had one, which means you had to move it around, which made it a really charming feature because you could use it on the input for sound incoming, as I do sometimes when I got lush strings or something coming inside from the Integra 7 or the Phantom, or the drums that come in from keyboards that may be a little thin. You can thicken them up with the stereo dynamics processor via the MV and sample them in that way on the audio track as it's playing, so you have a copy, a print of that particular sound, right? I've done it many times. Then you can use it on the output, or since it has an internal digital mixer, same as this, you can just create a drum bus and put it on whatever bus you want, or a sample bus, or a bus with the keyboards, or whatever. But this is a little bit upgraded, whereas you can only use one instance of it. Every clip on here has its own path to the M effects, so you can use multiple instances. Not only that, this has 5 times the amount of effects that we shipped with right? At launch, it had that many. Now they've added and updated us to like three or four extra effects, and we have a randomizer on here now, which is not a synthesizer, but it pulls random sounds from Roland library that you don't have on here and just makes it up if you want a random sound or a random sound out of the library, which is pretty cool. But you have the Juno, the coveted Juno effects on here, as well as a JDI multi, and then something that it didn't ship with that I was shocked was the phonograph effect. The MV-1 Verselab did not ship with the phonograph effect, right? But they gave it to us in an update. Another thing that this one, as far as the effects are concerned, even though you have global reverb and delay on here, you have a global reverb and delay on here that has presets. So you have a preset that sounds like the Integra 7 and so forth, the SRV 700 or whatever they have. All these presets that you get on here, as well as the delay presets. So you can get the ping-ponging delay preset, whereas on here, it's just, you have to set it. You know what I mean? You can probably get that effect, but you have to go in there and make it yourself and then save it as a personal, as a customized setting, right? But off the rip, it's just regular reverb and delay on the global scale on here, right? Another genuine upgrade was obviously the interface part, the USB over audio, just like the V series studios back in the day, the VS880, 2480, 1680. The V700 and V100, and then later on they had a Boss version for guitar players called the BR20 or something. But all of them, as a matter of fact, the SP55 and SP606 both have USB over audio and can be used for interfaces. So that was a technology that was laid out after the 8000s were out. So of course that's a genuine upgrade. We 8,000, 8,800 users were wishing we could just USB this big thing to Pro Tools and just dump all our tracks just like that. Well, with this, it's possible. And because it has the Mackie protocol, like I said, the VS100 was made to work with any software, not just DAW. So it had the Mackie protocols baked in. So when I turn Sonar on, you can already see the outputs on the screen. I just assign it, assign the MIDI, assign the outputs, and you're ready to go, because this is an interface. Not this has an interface. This is an interface. It's a mid-grade interface. I mean, it's all right. It's not shitty, and it's not super. You know what I mean? It's cool. You know what I mean? Another upgrade, not as apparent, the sound engine. So this is one of those things where I kind of want to. So all of these upgrades I'm mentioning you can still use your 8000 and use these upgrades on your new MV just by letting them play together. Because it's designed to capture sound and it's designed to play well with others, you can easily slave one to the other to benefit. When I first got my Verselab, I thought maybe it didn't sound as warm as this, and it doesn't. This does not sound as big and fat as this one. This is colorful and punchy. Punches way above what you think it does. I mean punches. But the thing about the sound, it's really clean, it's really pristine, and you have to go back and dirty it up a little bit. This is warm out the box. If you get any subtle harmonics on the distortion when you have this thing on for a while, it gets hot. Okay, that's something else people don't talk about. Anything that has a fan on it, and that the circuitry gets hot on the inside, the sound changes. This heat brings about change. That's all the tubes are. I'm running Pro channels right now because they're tubes. They never hardly go off. When the sound passes through these tubes, the sound changes because of the heat, because of the light. Okay, so that's the same thing with the MV-8000s. They have a fan on them. This thing will get warm. So you have your fan on, you know that the sound has had probably changing the longer you keep this thing on. So I used to think that I had to run this one through here, but now I run my 8000 through the Verselab. What does that give me? Well, that gives me all the modern sounds if I want to, because as you know about the MV-8000, if you slave something to the MV, you use the sounds from the MV pads. That gives me all the sub basses and all the trap sounds that we missed out on as 8800 or 8000 users right here in my fingertips. That gives me the very newest sound palette, but that's just how the MV can work. The MV is designed to play well with others. So this master bus on here is one of the biggest upgrades, because on here you have to use what you're going to use on the master, but you have to make sure everything else has the effects that you want on it, because once again, I repeat, you only had one instance of the M effects that you could use on here pre-mastering. Once you mastered, whatever you kept on the internal inputs, on the external inputs, that's going to stay. And it's going to sample, or it's going to mix just like that. And this does the exact same thing, only it has an entire master bus that comes on here. So that's very cool compared to this. Having an M effects at the end that you can deal with alongside a multi-band EQ, a multi-band compressor, and a limiter, all going on the outputs. What's not to like, man? Now, last but not least is the interaction with technology with the bigger screen. This is really, this is tricky, and some people don't quite like it. But me, personally, I do. Let me show you why. There we go. It's only one on here. So you can do a lot of editing here. You know what I mean? Touch screen this, touch screen that. It's really easy to just tap, pull up the MFX, and preview stuff instead of dealing with this small screen. Once you're in the mixing phase and the arranging phase, it's easy. But another thing I like to point out is that if you just get a decent Zimbies, which is a DAW, that's like an application, you can also open up a song. Let's go to Zimbies. I saw Zimbies on iOS. I always open up with that. Okay, boom. Now, audio, as you can see, audio, right? Now, there's always one for the mix. So, I can record this audio, right? Both. And then go ahead and progress with my song within Zenbeats if I want to. Take that on the road with me, right? Now, what would I have on my audio input? My MV-8000. Exactly. I know you see it. I know you can see where I'm going with this. If you don't think that is the most MV-ish ever, then you probably wasn't ever with the MV Nation to begin with. Check me out live tonight, late night. We'll be discussing a lot of stuff. Peace.